Have you ever picked up your phone for absolutely no reason and found yourself staring at someone's name in your contacts, not texting them, not calling them, just looking? Have you ever been in the middle of a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, washing dishes, sitting in traffic, folding laundry, and suddenly, out of nowhere, someone's face appears in your mind? Not because anything reminded you of them, not because you heard their favorite song, just because somehow some invisible wire between two human souls pulled tight for a single, unexplainable moment. Now here's what I want you to really think about. What if, at that very same moment, they were thinking about you too? What if the person who crossed your mind at 2:47 in the afternoon was sitting somewhere across town or across the country, and your name had just floated into their head at the exact same time? What if missing someone is not as silent as it appears? What if the longing people carry for someone they've lost touch with, someone they walked away from, someone they love from a distance? What if that longing has a language of its own? Because here's the thing that most of us never learned. Missing someone does not always look like crying. It does not always look like late-night texts or desperate phone calls or grand dramatic gestures. Sometimes missing someone looks like laughing at a joke and then going quiet. Sometimes it looks like ordering a coffee you don't even want because that person always ordered it. Sometimes it looks like checking someone's social media at midnight, not to stalk them, but just to feel a little less far away. Missing someone is one of the most powerful, most complicated, most deeply human experiences we will ever go through. And yet most people suffer through it in complete and total silence. They don't announce it. They don't advertise it. They carry it quietly, like a stone in a pocket, heavy, always there, but hidden from view. So today we are going to talk about that silence. We are going to decode it. We are going to look at 12 specific psychological signs, backed by real research on human behavior, attachment theory, neuroscience, and the psychology of love, that reveal when someone is secretly missing you far more than they are letting on. And I promise you this, by the time we reach sign number 12, you will never look at human behavior the same way again. You will start noticing things you missed before. You will understand people on a level that most human beings never access. And you might, just might, realize that someone in your life is aching for your presence right now, and they have no idea how to tell you. So settle in, get comfortable, because we are about to go somewhere deep. The psychology of missing someone, a foundation. Before we dive into the signs themselves, we need to understand what is actually happening inside the human brain when someone misses another person. Because this is not just an emotional experience, this is a neurological event. When we form a deep connection with another human being, our brain does something remarkable. It creates what neuroscientists call a neural template of that person. Think of it like a folder in your brain's filing system. Except this folder doesn't just contain memories, it contains sensory data, the sound of their voice, the rhythm of their laughter, the specific cadence of how they talk when they're excited about something, the way they smell, the warmth of their presence in a room. This neural template becomes woven into your brain's reward circuitry. When that person is present, your brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, the holy trinity of feel-good neurochemicals. Their presence literally makes your brain feel safe and rewarded. So when that person disappears, whether through a breakup, a falling out, distance, or simply the slow drift of life pulling two people in different directions, your brain notices. It goes looking for the reward it was expecting. And when it can't find it, that's the experience we call missing someone. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that social rejection and loss activate the same neural pathways as physical pain. That's not a metaphor. Missing someone actually hurts, in the same measurable neurological way that touching a hot stove hurts. The brain processes emotional absence the same way it processes physical damage. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. Because missing someone is so painful, and because human beings are wired to protect themselves from pain, most people develop sophisticated strategies for hiding the fact that they miss someone. They don't want to appear weak. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to reach out and be rejected. They don't want to open a door they're afraid to walk through. So instead, they miss you quietly. And that quiet has 12 very specific sounds, if you know how to listen for them. Sign number 1. They keep you updated on things you never asked about. Pay close attention to this one, because it is so subtle that most people dismiss it entirely. When someone secretly misses you, they will often find small, seemingly innocent reasons to keep you informed about their life. They'll send you an article they thought you might find interesting. They'll tag you in a meme that is tangentially related to something you talked about once, 6 months ago. They'll casually mention in a group chat that they drove past the restaurant where you used to go together. On the surface, these actions look completely random and low stakes. But beneath the surface, they reveal something profound. That person is maintaining a connection. They are creating small, low-risk touchpoints that keep them tethered to your awareness and keep you tethered to theirs. Psychology explains this through a concept called relationship maintenance behaviors. According to research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, people who feel connected to someone but are uncertain about expressing that connection directly will engage in indirect maintenance behaviors, small actions designed to keep the relationship alive without requiring full emotional vulnerability. In plain language, when someone is afraid to say, "I miss you," they say it in code. And the code is all those little check-ins, those random tags, those "I saw this and thought of you" moments. Here's the most telling part. Think about how many people you know. Think about how many articles exist on the internet, how many memes are shared every single day, how many restaurants you drive past in a week. When someone consistently, repeatedly, habitually chooses to share those things with you specifically, not with their best friend, not with their family, not with their coworker, but with you, that is not randomness. That is intention. That is someone who thinks of you more than they are saying out loud. And that is someone who misses you. Sign number 2. Their response time is inconsistent in a very specific pattern. This is one of the most psychologically revealing signs on our entire list, and yet it is almost universally misread. Here is the pattern. Someone who secretly misses you will sometimes respond to your messages almost immediately, within seconds, as if they had their phone in their hand and were hoping you would reach out. Other times, they will take hours or even days to respond. And when they do finally respond after a long silence, their message will be longer than usual, warmer than usual, more emotionally open than usual. Most people, when they experience this inconsistency, assume the person is playing games. They assume the person is hot and cold, unreliable, uninterested. They internalize the long silences as rejection. But here is what is actually happening from a psychological standpoint. That inconsistency is not manipulation. It is a person in internal conflict. When they respond immediately, they are responding from feeling. They saw your name pop up, and their heart moved before their brain could intervene. But then they catch themselves. They pull back. They think about what they are doing, whether it is wise, whether it is fair to both of you, whether reaching out will complicate things. So they go quiet. The long delays are not indifference. They are the sound of someone fighting their own longing. And when they finally respond with warmth and length, that is the longing winning. That is the wall coming down just for a moment. Dr. John Gottman, one of the world's most respected relationship researchers, has written extensively about what he calls bids for connection, small attempts one person makes to emotionally engage with another. When someone who misses you finally responds after a long silence with a warm, detailed message, they are making a bid. They are reaching across the distance with both hands, hoping you will reach back. The inconsistency is not a red flag. It is a heartbeat. It is the rhythm of someone who wants to be closer to you but hasn't quite found the courage to say so yet. Sign number 3. They remember small details you've long forgotten. This is perhaps the most beautiful sign on our list, and it is one that reveals the depth of someone's inner life in a way that nothing else quite does. When someone genuinely misses you, they remember things. Not the big things. Anyone can remember your birthday, or your job, or the city you live in. I'm talking about the small things, the specific things, the things that you yourself have probably forgotten. They remember that you mentioned once in passing that you can't stand the smell of artificial cherry flavoring. They remember that your grandmother's name was Margaret and that she used to make you a specific kind of soup when you were sick. They remember that you had a dream about becoming an architect before life took you in a different direction. They remember that you always put your left shoe on before your right shoe, and that this is somehow a quirk you developed in childhood and never explained. These memories are not the result of a photographic memory or exceptional intelligence. They are the result of attention, deep, sustained, focused attention, the kind that only happens when someone finds another person profoundly interesting, profoundly significant, profoundly worth holding on to. Human beings are selective about what they store in long-term memory. Our brains are not recording devices. They are curators. We remember what matters to us. We retain what we value. And when someone remembers the minor, unremarkable details of your life with perfect clarity, they are showing you, whether they intend to or not, that you matter to them in a way they have perhaps never said out loud. There is a beautiful concept in the Japanese language called mono no aware, roughly translated as the bittersweet awareness of impermanence. When someone misses you, they hold on to these small details partly because they are afraid of losing them. Every small memory becomes precious. Every tiny fact about you becomes something to be carefully preserved, like pressing a flower between the pages of a book, trying to hold on to something that can't stay. When someone recounts something small about you that you've long forgotten, they are not showing off their memory. They are showing you their heart. Sign number 4. They show up in your life during significant moments, even virtually. Think back over the past year or two. Think about the significant moments you experienced and shared publicly. A new job, a birthday, a move to a new city, an accomplishment you posted about, a hard time you hinted at. Now think about who reached out, who left a comment, who sent a message, who liked the post within the first few minutes of you sharing it. Because here is what psychology tells us about that behavior. People who are truly disinterested in someone do not monitor their social media. They do not notice every post. They do not consistently show up in the comments or the likes or the reactions. They scroll past. They move on. Their attention is elsewhere because their feelings are elsewhere. But someone who secretly misses you, they notice everything. They notice when you changed your profile photo. They noticed when you hadn't posted in a while and wondered if you were okay. They see your stories within the first hour of you posting them, not because they were just scrolling and happened upon you, but because some part of them keeps looking. Social media has created an entirely new language for missing someone, and most of us are fluent in it without even realizing. When someone views every single one of your stories without ever commenting, when someone likes posts from weeks ago at 2 in the morning, when someone consistently, without fail, is one of the first people to interact with anything you share, these are not coincidences. These are the digital fingerprints of longing. A landmark study from the University of California, Berkeley examined how people use social media when they are experiencing grief over a lost relationship. Researchers found that the majority of participants engaged in what they called passive monitoring of an ex-partner or lost friend, silently watching that person's online life without making direct contact. The reason for this passive watching? proximity without vulnerability. They get to feel close to you without risking rejection. They get to know you're okay without having to admit they needed to know. It is, in its own quiet way, a form of care. It is love at a distance, expressing itself through the only medium it feels safe enough to use. Sign number 5. They get unusually nostalgic when you are around. Pay very close attention to what happens to someone's demeanor the next time you see them after a long period of separation. Do they bring up old memories? Do they start sentences with "remember when"? Do they reference specific moments from your shared history with a level of detail and emotional warmth that seems almost disproportionate to the casualness of the reunion? This is not coincidence, this is psychology in action. When we miss someone, we engage in what researchers call autobiographical memory retrieval. We revisit shared memories as a way of maintaining emotional connection with a person who is not present. It is essentially the brain's way of keeping the relationship alive during the absence. You replay the memories to keep them vivid, the way you might reread a letter to keep the handwriting familiar. So when that person finally sees you again after missing you, those memories don't disappear. They come flooding forward, the dam breaks, and suddenly the conversation is full of, "Do you remember the time?" and "I was thinking about that trip we took," and "I never forgot what you said that day." This nostalgia is not random reminiscing. It is evidence. It is proof that during the time you were apart, that person was spending significant mental and emotional energy returning to your shared history, living in those memories because the present felt incomplete without you in it. There is also a physiological component to this. Research in the journal Memory has shown that reminiscing about positive shared experiences with someone activates the brain's reward center in much the same way that experiencing those events for the first time did. In other words, when someone misses you, remembering good times with you literally feels good to their brain. The nostalgia is not just sentiment, it is self-soothing. It is the brain reaching for a comfort it knows how to find. When someone gets warm and nostalgic in your presence, they are not just being sentimental. They are telling you, in the only language their fear allows, that your absence has been heavy and that your presence is a relief they didn't know how to ask for. Sign number 6. They bring you up in conversations with other people. This is one of the most reliable signs of all, because it is the one that people least expect to be caught doing. Here is how it works. Someone who misses you will mention you to other people, friends, family members, mutual acquaintances, in contexts where you have no natural reason to come up. You'll hear about it through the grapevine. A mutual friend will say, "Oh, funny, Jordan was just talking about you the other day." Or someone will mention that they heard through another person that you've been brought up, seemingly at random, in a conversation that had nothing to do with you. Sometimes you experience it firsthand. You're talking with someone and they say, "My friend Sarah told me she ran into you. She talks about you a lot, you know." This behavior is psychologically significant for one very specific reason. When we miss someone, we often cannot say it to them directly. The vulnerability is too high. The risk of rejection or awkwardness is too real. So the longing finds another outlet. It finds its way into conversations with people who are safe, people who won't relay the message in a way that creates pressure, or so the person hopes. But the deep psychological reason this happens is even more interesting. Talking about someone you miss is a way of making them present. When you say someone's name out loud, when you reference a story about them, when you bring them into a conversation, for a brief moment they exist in the room with you. The absence becomes slightly less absolute. It is the same reason that people who have lost a loved one talk about that person constantly in the months after the loss. Keeping someone's name in circulation, keeping their stories alive and circulating in the world, it is a way of refusing to let the distance win. It is a way of saying, "This person matters." This person is still part of my world. This person is still real to me. When you discover that someone has been mentioning you to other people, do not dismiss it as gossip or coincidence. Recognize it for what it is. That is a person who cannot stop thinking about you and cannot stop carrying you with them, even into rooms where you've never been. Sign number 7. They reach out at unexpected times with no clear agenda. Most human interactions have an agenda. We call someone because we need information, or we want to make plans, or we have news to share. We text someone because there is a specific reason, a question, a response, a direct purpose. But when someone reaches out to you at random times, with no particular agenda, with no specific reason, just to check in, just to say they thought of you, just to share a random thought or a funny observation, that is something different entirely. That is someone who simply wanted to hear from you, or who wanted you to know they were there. Think about how rare this actually is. In our distracted, overscheduled, digitally saturated world, most people do not reach out without purpose. Time is short. Attention spans are shorter. The social pressure to appear busy and unneedy is enormous. Reaching out with no clear reason is, in many ways, one of the most vulnerable things a person can do. It is essentially saying, I have no practical reason to contact you, but I wanted to anyway, because you crossed my mind, because thinking about you isn't enough, because I wanted some form of contact, some proof that the connection is still there, some assurance that I still exist in your world. Attachment theory, the foundational framework developed by psychologist John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, tells us that human beings are driven by a fundamental need for felt security in their close relationships. When we are separated from someone we are attached to, we experience what Bowlby called protest behaviors, instinctive attempts to restore the connection that has been interrupted. Reaching out for no reason is one of the most common modern protest behaviors. It is the adult equivalent of a child calling for a parent in the dark. It is the sound of someone who misses you more than their pride wants to admit, who simply cannot always stay as silent as they intend to. Pay attention to those unexpected texts. Pay attention to those random calls. Behind the seemingly casual, "Hey, just thinking about you," is an entire universe of unspoken feeling. Sign number 8. Their body language transforms around you. We have talked extensively about digital and verbal signs, but now let us enter the physical realm, because the body, as psychologists have known for decades, is far more honest than the mouth. When someone secretly misses you and then finds themselves in your physical presence, their body often does things that their conscious mind has no control over. Watch for this. Watch for the immediate physical orientation. Do they turn their entire body toward you when you walk into a room, even before they've consciously registered your arrival? Do their eyes find you quickly, as if their nervous system has been programmed to locate your presence without instruction? Watch for the increase in mirroring behavior, the unconscious tendency to copy the posture, gestures, and facial expressions of someone we feel deeply connected to. When we miss someone and then get to be with them again, the mirroring intensifies. The body is essentially saying, I want to be synchronized with you. I want to match your frequency. Watch for what researchers call proximity seeking, the tendency to position themselves physically closer to you than the social situation requires. Standing a little closer than necessary, finding reasons to be in the same corner of the room, sitting adjacent to you when there are other options available. Watch for self-soothing touch combined with increased animation. Someone who misses you may touch their own face or neck when talking with you, a self-soothing gesture that often signals heightened emotional arousal. But simultaneously, they will become more animated, more expressive, more alive in the conversation, because your presence activates something in them that had gone dormant during your absence. And perhaps most tellingly, Watch for what happens when it is time to say goodbye. Someone who genuinely misses you will often linger at partings. The goodbye takes longer than it should. There is a reluctance to physically leave your presence that is palpable, even if it is never articulated. The body knows what it has been missing, and it does not want to lose it again. Dr. Albert Mehrabian's foundational research on nonverbal communication established that a substantial portion of emotional communication happens through body language rather than words. The body is not a liar. When it reaches toward you, when it seeks your proximity, when it softens and opens in your presence, it is telling you something that words haven't found the courage to say yet. Sign number 9. They experience visible emotional responses to things that remind them of you. This sign requires you to be observant, because it often happens in moments that seem to have nothing to do with you at all. Here is the situation. You are not present. The person who misses you is going about their day, at work, at a social gathering, in a store, in a conversation with someone else entirely. And then something happens. A song plays. A certain scent drifts past. Someone mentions a city, a film, a food, a word that is somehow associated with you. Or perhaps nothing external happens at all. Perhaps it is just a thought that arrives unbidden. And something shifts, in their face, in their posture, in the energy of their presence in the room. It might be subtle, a microsecond of emotion crossing their features before they catch it and school their expression back to neutral. It might be more visible, a genuine smile that is too soft and too inward to be about anything happening in the room. It might be a moment of going quiet in the middle of a conversation, their eyes going slightly distant, as if they have momentarily traveled somewhere else. This is what psychologists call a conditioned emotional response. Over time, the brain forms associations between specific stimuli and specific people. Once that association is formed, encountering the stimulus triggers the emotional response, automatically, without conscious permission. You don't choose to feel something when you hear a certain song associated with someone you love. Your brain has already made that connection, and once made, it cannot be unmade easily. When someone misses you deeply, the associative network their brain has built around you becomes extraordinarily dense. More and more things become connected to you, not just the obvious things, but peripheral things, adjacent things. And each of those connections can trigger a visible emotional response at any moment. If you have ever caught someone looking briefly wistful during a moment that seemed unrelated to you, and then later discovered that something in that moment had reminded them of you, you have witnessed this phenomenon in real time. You have seen, on their face, the involuntary signature of missing you. Sign number 10. They make future plans with you, even if they never formalize them. This sign lives in the language of someday, and we should, and one day. When someone secretly misses you, they often speak about the future in ways that include you, without ever quite crystallizing into actual plans. We should go back to that place sometime. You would love this city. I keep thinking I want to take you there. One day we should do that thing we always talked about. Notice that these statements are never entirely hypothetical. They are also never entirely concrete. They exist in a deliberate middle space, too specific to be meaningless, not specific enough to be binding. This is not indecisiveness. This is psychology. When we are uncertain about the nature of a connection, when we are not sure how the other person feels, when we are afraid of rejection, when we are missing someone but have not yet mustered the courage to say so directly, we will often future place ourselves with that person. We plant ourselves in their future without asking for permission, without committing to the vulnerability of making a real plan. The someday language serves a dual psychological purpose. First, it keeps the possibility of closeness alive. It maintains the option of reunion without requiring a direct confrontation with the feelings that have accumulated. Second, it is a way of testing the waters. When someone says, We should do that sometime. What they are actually listening for is how you respond. Do you light up? Do you agree warmly? Do you start talking about specifics? Or do you give the polite non-response? Yeah, maybe. That signals the distance between you is perhaps unbridgeable. The future planning language of someone who misses you is, at its core, an expression of hope. It is the hope that the distance between now and someday can be closed. It is the hope that you are not gone from their life permanently. It is the hope that the connection can be restored, if only the right moment arrives. When someone keeps placing you in their imagined future, they are telling you that they do not want to live in a version of the future where you are absent. And that is an extraordinarily tender thing to carry for someone you are afraid to fully reach for. Sign number 11. They become intensely interested in your well-being. This is one that can be easy to miss because it can look, on the surface, like simple friendship or politeness. But there is a specific quality to it that distinguishes it from ordinary social concern. When someone secretly misses you, they become deeply, almost anxiously invested in knowing that you are okay. Not just in the polite, "How are you doing?" sense. In the specific, detailed, genuinely concerned sense. They ask follow-up questions. Weeks after you mention something difficult was happening in your life, they circle back to it. "Hey, how did that situation turn out? I was thinking about it." They notice changes in your tone over text and ask about them directly. They mention that you seemed tired or quiet the last time they saw you and ask if everything is all right. This quality of attention, this granular, specific, sustained concern for your well-being, is not something that arises from casual indifference. It arises from deep emotional investment, from caring about someone in a way that persists beyond the moments when you are directly interacting with them. Psychologically, this behavior is connected to what attachment researchers call caregiving, one of the fundamental behavioral systems that activates in close relationships. When we are strongly attached to someone, we are biologically driven to monitor their well-being, to check whether they are safe and okay, to respond to any signs of distress or difficulty. Here is the revealing part. This caregiving drive does not switch off when the relationship changes status. It does not disappear when two people drift apart or break up or lose touch. In many cases, it intensifies because the person who misses you cannot be present with you in the ordinary ways anymore, so the caregiving focuses on the limited access points that remain available. If someone consistently, reliably, specifically asks about your well-being in a way that goes beyond surface-level politeness, if they remember the small hardships you mentioned, if they follow up on things that happened weeks ago, if they worry about you in ways you find slightly surprising given your current distance, that is attachment speaking. That is love in its quiet working clothes. That is someone who misses you and channels that missing into concern for you because it is the only expression of care that still feels allowed. Sign number 12. There are long silences, followed by returns. And now we come to the final sign, the one that ties everything together, the one that is simultaneously the most painful and the most hopeful. Long silences, followed by returns. There is a person in your life, maybe someone you are thinking about right now as you listen to this, who disappears for stretches of time, weeks, months, sometimes longer. You do not hear from them. The communication goes quiet. The connection seems to have faded, and then, without warning, without explanation, they are back. A message, a call, a comment on something you posted, a mutual friend mentioning they asked about you, a direct, "Hey, I know it's been a while," and every time they return there is a quality to the reconnection that is hard to name, but impossible to miss. There is warmth that does not have to be rebuilt from scratch. There is an ease to the conversation that should not exist after such a long absence. There is the distinct and sometimes overwhelming sense that no real time has passed. that whatever exists between you two is not something that absence can erode. Most people, when they experience this cycle, feel confused and sometimes frustrated. The disappearing feels like indifference. The returning feels inconsistent. The pattern seems unreliable. But here is what the psychology actually reveals. People who cycle through periods of intense connection followed by withdrawal are not indifferent. They are, in many cases, overwhelmed. When you are deeply attached to someone, when missing someone has become a source of both longing and pain, there is a well-documented psychological phenomenon called approach avoidance conflict that can create exactly this pattern. The person wants to be close to you. That is the approach. But being close to you also activates their awareness of how much they miss you, how much the connection means to them, how vulnerable they are to you. That vulnerability is terrifying, so they retreat. That is the avoidance. They put distance between themselves and the source of the feeling, hoping the distance will quiet it. But of course, the distance does not quiet it. It amplifies it. And eventually the missing wins, and they return. Dr. Mary Main's research on attachment patterns in adults identified what she called the dismissing preoccupied dynamic, where people who are most deeply attached to someone are sometimes the same people who struggle most with allowing that attachment to be visible. They alternate between being fully present and suddenly distant, not because their feelings have changed, but because their feelings are more than they know how to hold. When someone keeps coming back to you after long silences, they are not playing games. They are fighting a battle with themselves, between the part of them that knows how to protect itself by staying away, and the part of them that simply cannot pretend you do not exist in the deepest parts of their emotional life. Every return is an act of surrender. It is the part of them that loves you, winning. The deeper truth about missing someone. Now that we have walked through all 12 signs, I want to take a moment to sit with something more profound. Something that these signs, taken together, reveal about the nature of human connection itself. We live in a world that increasingly values self-sufficiency, independence, the appearance of being completely fine, completely whole, completely okay without anyone. Social media shows us carefully curated versions of people's lives, all highlights, no longing. No one posts about the moment they picked up their phone and stared at someone's contact information for 3 minutes before putting it down again. No one shares the moment in the middle of the night when they caught themselves wondering how someone is doing, whether they're happy, whether they ever think about you. But this longing, this specific, persistent, quietly devastating experience of missing someone is one of the most universal human experiences that exists. It does not discriminate by age, by gender, by background, by accomplishment. It finds everyone. It finds the person who seems to have it all together. It finds the confident, the successful, the seemingly untouchable. Because missing someone is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of depth. It is a sign of a nervous system that has been genuinely, meaningfully touched by another person. It is proof that the connection was real, that something was built between two people that does not simply dissolve when circumstances change. The philosopher Simone Weil once wrote about the concept of attention as the highest form of love. The idea that truly seeing another person, truly attending to them, truly noticing the details of who they are, is the purest expression of care. And in all 12 of the signs we have explored today, what we are really describing is attention. The kind of sustained, specific, quietly devoted attention that a person who misses you cannot help but pay. They notice your posts. They remember your details. They bring you into conversations. They make plans for futures that include you. They ask about your well-being with specific concern. They come back after absences that were supposed to be endings. This is all attention. This is all care. This is all love. dressed in the clothing of subtlety because its true nature is too large and too tender to simply say out loud. What to do with this knowledge? Now we come to perhaps the most important question. Not just how do you recognize these signs, but what do you do when you recognize them? The answer, I believe, is both simpler and more complicated than we want it to be. The simple part is this. If you recognize these signs in someone's behavior and you care about that person, consider reaching out. Consider making it a little easier for them. Consider being the one who does not wait for courage to arrive perfectly formed before acting on it. Because here is a truth that is painful in its simplicity. Most people who secretly miss someone never say so directly. They live with it silently. And eventually the missing either finds resolution in reunification, or it fades into a kind of scar tissue, a tenderness in the place where the connection used to be. And the most common reason people never say what they feel is not because they do not feel it. It is because they are afraid. They are afraid of rejection. They are afraid of looking foolish. They are afraid that their feelings will not be reciprocated, and that the admission will take away even the small comfort of ambiguity they are currently living with. If you know someone who is showing these signs, and if some part of you is moved by that knowledge, you have the power to make it easier. You do not have to wait for them to speak first. You can be the one who creates the safety that their courage requires. You can be the one who says, "I've missed you, you know." You can be the one who opens the door. The more complicated part of this is about you, because some of you listening to this today are not just identifying these signs in someone else. Some of you are recognizing yourself. Some of you are realizing that these signs describe you, your behavior, your patterns, your quiet, private ways of carrying someone in your life. And to you, I want to say this directly. The missing you feel is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a vulnerability to be hidden. It is proof that you are capable of depth. It is evidence that you know how to love someone specifically, attentively, and persistently. Even when circumstances make love difficult, you are allowed to say it. You are allowed to reach out. You are allowed to be honest about the fact that someone matters to you, even if the situation is complicated, even if the timing is uncertain, even if you are not sure how they will respond. The worst that can happen is that you will know. And knowing, even a painful knowing, is almost always better than the quiet, endless uncertainty of carrying love that has nowhere to land. The science of reunion. Before we close, I want to share something that researchers have found about what happens when two people who have missed each other finally reconnect. When the silence ends, when the distance closes, when the quiet missing is finally allowed to speak. Studies in social neuroscience have found that reunion experiences, moments of reconnecting with someone from whom you have been separated, activate the brain's reward system in a way that is measurably more intense than routine positive social interaction. In other words, reconnecting with someone you have missed creates a neurological experience that is measurably richer, more rewarding, and more emotionally vivid than ordinary connection. There is even physiological evidence. Research published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that reunion with an attachment figure, someone to whom you are deeply bonded, triggers a release of oxytocin that is significantly higher than baseline social interaction. This is the neurological basis for that overwhelming warmth that washes over you when you finally get to be with someone you have missed. The relief is not just emotional, it is chemical. It is your nervous system finally getting what it has been waiting for. And here is the most remarkable finding. The same research suggests that the intensity of the reunion experience is proportional to the intensity of the missing that preceded it. The longer, the deeper, the more quietly born the missing was, the more profound and memorable the reunion becomes. In other words, all of that silent longing, all those unreturned calls and withheld messages and midnight social media checks and mentioned names in conversations and small remembered details, all of it is not wasted. All of it is being stored. All of it is building pressure that, when finally released, creates something extraordinary. The missing is not meaningless. It is not a detour. It is not time stolen from the relationship. It is, in a strange and counterintuitive way, time that the relationship is spending growing in the dark, like roots, invisible and underground, but reaching and expanding and strengthening all the same. A final thought. There is someone in your life right now, perhaps someone you have been thinking about throughout this entire presentation, who misses you in ways they have never quite found the courage to say. They check on you quietly. They remember things about you that you thought were forgotten. They speak about you to other people when your name has no natural reason to come up. They linger at goodbyes. They reach out for no reason. They come back after silences that were supposed to be endings. And you have done all of these things too, for someone, somewhere. You know exactly who that person is. You can feel it even now, that specific warmth in the chest that comes from thinking about someone who mattered. Human beings are not meant to miss each other in silence forever. We are built for connection. We are wired for reunion. The deepest parts of our nervous systems are designed to seek the people who make us feel whole, and to persist in that seeking, quietly and stubbornly, across time and distance and circumstance. So do not dismiss the signs. Do not explain them away. Do not hide behind the comfortable armor of, "I don't want to assume," or "they probably don't actually miss me." Pay attention. Because somewhere, right now, someone is picking up their phone and staring at your name. They are not calling. They are not texting. They are just looking. And that looking is everything. Closing statement. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. 12 specific, psychologically grounded signs that someone secretly misses you, woven through with the neuroscience of attachment, the research on human behavior, and the deeply human truth that love rarely announces itself at full volume. More often, it whispers. It leaves fingerprints. It shows up in the small, quiet, easily overlooked moments that, once you know how to read them, tell you everything you need to know. The 12 signs we explored are these. They keep you updated on things you never asked about. Their response time is inconsistent in a very specific and telling pattern. They remember small details you have long forgotten. They show up during your significant moments, even virtually. They become unusually nostalgic in your presence. They bring you up in conversations with other people. They reach out at unexpected times with no clear agenda. Their body language transforms profoundly when you are near. They experience visible emotional responses to things that remind them of you. They make future plans that include you, even when those plans remain vague. They become intensely and specifically interested in your well-being. And finally, they go through long silences and then return, again and again, because they cannot quite stay away. These signs are not guarantees. Human behavior is complex, context matters, and no single sign in isolation tells the full story. But patterns do not lie. And when you see multiple of these signs in the behavior of someone you care about, you are seeing the shape of something real and significant. You are seeing the outline of a love that has not found its words yet. Do not wait too long to find yours. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if this resonated with you, if somewhere in the last hour you found yourself thinking of a specific face, a specific name, a specific presence in your life that has been absent in ways that ache, then you already know what I hope you take from this. Missing someone is not a conclusion, it is an invitation. The question is simply whether you are brave enough to respond.